This is Moneyline Mania with Jazz and the crew.
Chicka 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 toot toot. Shazimoto, what's going on, bud?
Well, yeah, you know what? Normally the crew is around, but it's the dog days of summer, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But we may actually have another crew to our crew because Wes's son, I'm pretty sure he said it's going to be a boy. You know how he has his names that are all related to Ohio State? He's naming his kids something to do with Ohio State as well. I don't remember what.
Brutus?
Brutus Boston works, actually.
Brutus Boston.
You could have the bathrobe with the BB on it. That would work.
Quick, call it out while there's still time.
I think they were supposed to induce Sunday, tomorrow. If not, she's having a baby. So we wish them the best. The guys, they're making the babies and having kids. I'm a dad, so yeah, it's great. But the women put up with most of the grief in that.
Absolutely.
Once that water breaks, it's a trippy world. So yeah, so we're excited about that. And I even have a play from him for CFL. But first I want to talk about some baseball. You're sitting in New York, guys. How cool is it, right? With the Yankees doing what they're doing. Every time I look up, Judge is hitting more. 2 on Friday.
2 more yesterday, now 36 for the season.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. Remember, you're coming off the All-Star break, so this is sports betting. I don't care what your record is. Are you making me money? Because as we talk about with baseball, with these high pitchers, we're going to talk about Kershaw in a little bit. We go 3-1, you lose money. You make $100 the 3 times they win, you lose $345. The 1 time they lose, you lost $45. They went 3-1. Some guy tells you I got a 75% win rate on baseball, just laugh in his face because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Tell me how much money you want. So yeah, you got to know which teams are refueled after that break and who's going to quit. So with pitchers, it's halfway through the year. Stop using their year-to-date averages because, Speedy, when you see the numbers on the screen on the TV, that's their year-to-date average.
Yes, that is the whole season and maybe per start,
right.
per game.
What if in the first quarter of the season you stunk? And the second quarter of the season, you were good. Your whole average gets sucked down by stinking, right? But you're on a hot streak.
Yeah, especially this year, I've seen notably so many big winning streaks and so many big losing streaks from teams. Look at the Braves.
Oh, there you go. Going into the All-Star break, Baltimore, Seattle. Here's how I do the trends, guys. With our easy sports data, if it happens 3 times in a row, it's a trend. You hop on them then, and they go 11 straight. You cashed 8 times, and then you're always losing the last one. Don't forget that. But then, maybe they win again, so then you don't bet, and they win again. And well, then you're betting them again. You've seen teams that go 17-2. And if you could have lost it, sure, you lost the 2 games, but you won maybe 13 of those 17. You're 13-2 betting a team, and you don't have to handicap because you're not betting a pitcher. You're betting a team. You can come back the next day. So that's my MLB halftime speech about how to bet MLB going forward.
And this is the MLB halftime report in an untimed sport.
There you go. CFL, what I'm going to basically say is don't be talking to us on Sports Betting Weekly about preseason NFL. I will bet it. I have data for it. I will use it. I will bet it. But all I'm really going to watch is the CFL because the CFL is just really, really exciting right now for me. I just love the weirdness of it. If you don't know CFL, the first thing is you can't watch a game. We've talked about how crazy it looks because they're all able to run even before the snap. They're running straight ahead, but the field's bigger. There's 12 guys. I'm talking about simply the fact that you get 2 downs. That's it. So on 3rd down, you either punt or field goal. Wes has said it for years. They have a 3-minute break in the last 3 minutes of a CFL game. Don't give me about the dog days of summer. There's stuff out there to do if you're just sitting around like me waiting for football season. Because, Petey, I tell you every year, I just sit around waiting for football season. In the old days, we didn't even do the show. We did the show up until maybe March Madness, and that was it. We came back opening week. You know, horse racing was the bomb. Horse racing and boxing were the bomb. You take Cinderella Man, right, and Seabiscuit. That's a history lesson, really, in what our country was the sports fan. If you were the heavyweight boxer champ of the world, you were the biggest athlete in the world at that point. So those are funny, but it's a passionate fan base. It's just dwindling dramatically. And the reason it's dwindling dramatically is because horse racing, it's got their head up their ass, basically. But when you have a large group of individuals with no leadership, the horses are dying. Think about it. If we had a sport, say football, and one day 4 players died, would they play the next day, the next game? No. In horse racing, they play the next race. Because it happens. You got a big body, you got skinny little legs. Come on, guys. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's not a good combination.
It seems like, too, there's like so many new horses in each of the 3 Triple Crown races, too. Like, it doesn't seem fair for the ones that are racing like 3 times and trying to either go to a jockey's legacy or something like that, just because like there's all these new ones, these fresh legs. Even we say that in other sports,
but that's
too.
kind of why when your horse does well in those races, you get to charge more for their semen. Because the semen is a very important part of horse racing. That's the problem with horse racing, though, is so many of the great horses are leaving early. Why would you run a horse to win a $2 million race, Speedy, when you can send them to make babies? So I'm looking in the racing form yesterday, and this one horse had 375 kids. Because they said this guy, as a sire, has done really well. His 375 foals had done this, and they had the record of how many wins and losses in places or shows, whatever. And I was thinking, it was like that movie with Vince Vaughn, remember? He was taking his chunk to get money at the sperm donation place where they give you $35 or whatever it was. So he did it like 500 times. It turns out he has like 500 kids, you know? It was pretty funny.
Delivery man?
Yeah, maybe that was it. So let's do picks. So let's start with the CFL game, because the CFL game was supposed to be today, but now it's tomorrow. And Wes, father to be, gave out Saskatchewan. Wes, I think, skipped this week's BC game. He got BC'd 4 times. What that means is when the same team beats you 4 times out of 6 plays, you stop betting them altogether. They may not be dead to you. Usually a team that's dead to you is a team that's taking your money, but they didn't win. So what happens is when they win and they don't take your money, it's because they didn't cover the spread. But we do a lot of money line mania bets, which of course is the name of this segment for a reason. That's where you take your unit and you bet it on the team on the money line, so they just got to win the game, and then you bet a fraction of that, anywhere from a quarter to 3/4 units on the point spread. As long as they win the game, you win. And then they lose both. So he skipped that game. He's got Saskatchewan -5.5. So I will be on that game tomorrow. I'll probably bet more of that action. I don't do first quarters, and we'll talk about that when we're on in NFL season. We have the data that goes back till 2012. So I'm not kidding you guys. Sometimes you'll see 17 games in a row over 3 years on the road that these teams have done something in the first quarter, whether it's over, under, win, lose, whatever it is.
Are you still ahead of Wes in the CFL picks?
No. He
Good
caught
run.
up to me last week. Last week I was terrible. 2-2. We're pretty much tied now. I defer to Wes, just so you know. The reason why I make the picks is because I'm writing about it, so I'm basically getting paid to handicap. I'm going to bet that. I had a few in the beginning, but more times than not, we're on the same page. What he'll do is he'll take a team that's a dog a lot easier than I will, but I found on a lot of those games where he's on the dog, what I'm doing is I'm on the total. So we really are in the same game on different bets. So whenever I'm on an under, I'll put Wes's team. If Wes gives me a play, and he does that Discord page, and that's something when we get him back on once summer winds away and he's not working, because his Discord page will make you money. These guys are really, really good. All right, so Major League Baseball. So I have the Yankees at Baltimore. I have San Francisco at the Dodgers. That's 4:10 tomorrow, your time. And then San Diego at the Mets.
I will be at that game.
Are you going to that game?
Yep, it is a early birthday gift. It was supposed to be my grandparents, my uncle, and all my family. My grandfather got sick, though, so he couldn't travel. So I'm going to be meeting up with my immediate family. My brothers and my uncle are going to meet up. He's coming off the train from New York.
Hopefully, if you're not going to have action, somebody in your family will put a couple bucks on my play, because I'm very comfortable. So let's talk about the Yankees at Baltimore. You don't need to say much about the Yankees, but In their last 10, they're 4-6, and that is not a way to break the record for most wins. You don't see teams usually go 4-6 at any period during a season when they do great things. But the Yankees, as Errol has said in the past, have had periods like that. But their overs, guys, 8-2 in the same 10 games that they went 4-6. The overs are 8-2, and they've scored 5+ and 6-7. Baltimore just going into Saturday recently had their big win streak snapped. They won a lot of games in a row, and because we know Jonathan from San Antonio, who's also having a baby, is also naming it Camden. I think I mentioned that in the past. He's a big Baltimore fan, so when they go on a run like that, he wins a lot of money because he bets. But they're 8-2, 1-2, however, in their last 3. But in 3 of their last 3, it's gone over, and they've scored 4+ and 8 of 9. So that's kind of where I'm leaning here. Cortez, he's averaged about 5 innings a start in his last 7 starts. 35 innings, he's given up 36 hits. Yeah, that's not necessarily bad. The problem was 9 of them were dingers, and he gave up 18 runs in 35 innings. So that's basically a half a run an inning. So that's 4.5 runs if you pitch 9 innings. Kramer, the dude hasn't lost since June 5th. He's got 3 wins, 4 no decisions. His last 3, he never made the 6th. He pitched 13.2 innings, gave up 8 earned. And the previous 3 before that were all shutouts, which I thought was kind of weird. I'm going with the over. I'm thinking to myself, they've gone over. He's gone over. I don't bet teams that are 4-6 in their last 10. But again, we talked about it. What if they're 3-0 in their last 3 and 1-6 before that? Then they're 4-6, but they're really playing good. So that's kind of how I look at life. That is going to be my play there. I'm putting it down. I'm writing it down. I got the over. And the next game, San Francisco at the Dodgers. In May, the Dodgers swept the 2 home games. In June, San Francisco swept the 3 home games, and it's July, and the Dodgers looks like they're trying to sweep those. But the total was 2-4-1 in that game, so there was 2 overs, 4 unders, and a push. San Francisco's battling for that wild card. The AL East, right, and the NL West are the teams that look like they're going to fill the playoffs. The Dodgers are on a 9-1 run, though. Remember, it was really close. I think they went into a series with the Padres recently, a month ago. They were 4 games down, or 3 games down, or maybe
the Padres were ahead 2 games. Yeah,
bada boom, bada bing. 7 of those 9 have been money line wins. They won by 1.5 runs, and that is a very important thing in baseball, especially with these pitchers. I told you how my son has been right in that. Well, he got another one Friday. I don't know if you saw. They got a grand slam. It was 1-1, and he needs it to be 3-1 or more, and they got a grand slam. He was so giddy. He's done real well with them. Cobb last 3 through 97 plus pitches. You'll hear me. If there's any stat that I look at with guys is how many pitches they throw and how consistently they throw that, because that allows me to see the game. The other day we talked about they both had 100 pitches. The dude ended up, it was here in San Diego for the Darvish game. The guy threw 112 pitches.
Oh, Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, 112 pitches. Golly gee. And, in the old days, the old days, that was a 9-inning game, and they do it all the time. Yeah, that's absolutely true, but it's not the old days. Yeah, so same thing. Now, here's the difference, though. This is San Francisco. San Francisco and the Dodgers have a rivalry that some would say is their biggest rivalry. And so the line may not be minus 300 for Kershaw, maybe minus 175, 195, somewhere in that. So I'm going to do a money line mania on this thing, but I'm going to do it a couple different ways. I'm going to take the Dodgers, and if they win the game, I'm winning money. And then what I'm going to do is taking some of that money, I'm going to bet them on the run line as well. And I'm also betting the under, and I'm going to bet the parlay with the money line and the under. And so that is a lot of bets in one game. But you know what? If it goes well, worst case scenario, you lose. Kershaw gets out-dueled and he loses 3-2. You got the under bet. It helps a little bit. Remember, we're about cashing tickets. All I care about is that when I'm done, you're done betting my bets.